All right, welcome back to Beagle Eye Visions. We're gonna continue episode number 16, and I just want to give another shout out to Patrick Quigley. If you don't know who Patrick Quigley is, go on the Beagle Eye Visions YouTube channel, search up Legends of South Bend, and Patrick Quigley is one of the interviews that we've done where we talked about agape, like what we were talking about in the previous episode of this grinding series. So shout out to Patrick Quigley, shout out to Mandy Quigley, and shout out to their daughter Margot. They are an awesome family. We absolutely love those legends here at Beagle Eye Visions. Give them some love. Go to the well, get some delicious coffee. The well is amazing. One of the only all ages venue in the northern Indiana area. Even the MEAC isn't all ages, but that's okay. We're gonna keep grinding and finish this episode out. We just got a dubby package, so right after this, I have to go record a dubby review, and Camera Girl is also gonna get on the camera and try out the dubby, try out the dubs. All right, we're gonna finish this episode out. I hope you're enjoying the knowledge. Thank you if you've made it this far. Let's get it.
Column of love would be the internal expression, what happens inside of us. So we have knowledge, the acceptance of truth. What happens next? Well, we gain sovereignty. We gain the understanding of our own self-ownership, which could be called internal monarchy. This is what's happening inside of us. So when I say monarchy, I mean one ruler. Mon meaning one and archy meaning ruler or archon. And so this means that you are ruling yourself. You're not ruling anybody else. You're only ruling yourself. Contrary to that, on the opposite side to that, you would have confusion that would come out of ignorance. So this would be stated as internal anarchy. And we've never broke down the word anarchy on this series, but the word anarchy simply means the absence of rulers. No masters, no rulers. It doesn't mean without rules. It just means no masters, no rulers. So internal anarchy would be the absence of somebody ruling themselves. It means that nobody is home to rule the house. Nobody is there to control the body, which means that you're easily controlled, honestly. It puts you in a position where you can be manipulated very easily because you're confused. And we all know this. People who are confused can be led astray very quickly and very easily. So the next expression underneath of sovereignty, if we're going down this list, this column, we would have the external expression. So we started with love, we got knowledge, then we had sovereignty, and what happens in society from this? What happens afterwards from this? Well, then we have freedom, which we could term external anarchy, which would be the absence of people believing that they have a claim of ownership over other people and the product of their labor. Pretty much the absence of slavery. Without euphemizing it, it's the absence of slavery. That's what it means. And in contrary to that, you would have, you could say control, or you could just say slavery. So underneath confusion, if you're going down that column, you would have slavery or control, which is external monarchy. Someone who's externally trying to control somebody else, or something else that they do not have a right to control. And because of this, you have a state of slavery. And then you have the manifestation, the result we get as a whole, as the whole of the species. So on the left column with love being the starting point, the ending point would be order. And what I mean by order here is manifested good, a good result, a functioning result. So when I say order, we're talking about function. The optimal function of our species is to be in a manifested good condition. That's where we're going to work optimally. And so you can just think about like a simple machine, right? Like a soda pop machine. If it's out of order, then it's not functioning. So if you place an order to that machine that is out of order, if you put your coin in it and you want to get a soda from it, you're not going to get what you asked for when you put it into that machine because it's broken, it's out of order, it's in chaos, and that would be the negative attribute that would come about from living through the aspects of fear. It would be a manifested bad result, and it could be even correlated to manifested evil also, because evil is a free will choice that we choose to do. It's not inherent in nature. It only comes from beings with the capacity to choose to do a moral action or an immoral action. But if that soda pop machine was working, then you would have manifested good. You would get the soda that you ordered for. Not that I think you should be drinking soda. You should definitely be drinking juice or something like that instead. But this is just an example, obviously. So yeah, let's make it a juice machine instead. So you're getting something good from that. You're getting organic, good, nutritious vitamins and enzymes and everything that you need because you started out with love, right? And let's just say that machine is the universe. Well, is the universe working? Well, yeah, it's working. It's functioning, so it's in order. That's why natural law functions the way it does. It's not out of order. It's not broken. It's going to work that way. But unlike the universe, human beings have free will. You know, we have free will, so we get to choose whether we are functioning or non-functioning. So we get to choose what column that we go down. Do we start with love and end up in a good condition, end up in freedom, have sovereignty, have knowledge, acceptance of truth? Or do we start with fear and live in unconsciousness, a refusal of truth, being completely blatantly ignorant and confused, and the absence of controlling ourselves, and seek to control other people, and then create a condition of chaos in our society because we don't understand what we're doing and we're acting out of fear?
Wow, man. Very well said, and I really like the way you organized everything, for the audience to visualize the columns and to understand. So basically, it's about, starting off in love with agape, to want to know, to seek the truth, for knowledge. And, through knowledge, understanding your sovereignty, which is about, external anarchy, which is freedom to create good order, to create order, period, because the opposite of order would be chaos. So then the opposite of love and everything I just said would be, if you're starting off in fear, well, that's because, I like this one because, most people will agree that we fear what we don't know. And why don't we know? Well, most of the time, it has to do with, I would say, before 30 years ago, it had to do with nescience because, the information wasn't there. But now it's just willful ignorance, refusing the truth. And then that leads to confusion, not knowing, what your rights are because you didn't seek the knowledge and you don't understand your sovereignty. You don't understand, what true freedom actually means, which is, without external monarchy, without, the control of rulers, which always leads to chaos or evil all through history. It's always been that way. So very well said, Brandon. I think you did excellent on that. But before we go any further, I want to stress the importance and understanding of the breakdown of words and their definition. We're gonna cover the word religion and the word government. So we have to know how to find the original meanings of words to get as close to it as we can, where the word is derived from, to give us a better understanding of what else words might actually be saying. And for those who don't know, this is called etymology or derivation. Something very, 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 very important that all people should know is how to research words. So this means so etymology and derivation means the study of the origin of words and where they derive from and how they evolved or changed in our history. And when it comes to definitions, most dictionaries give modern meanings of words, including the old definitions. Plus, there's a lot of words that aren't used any longer. So, in my opinion, one dictionary source is definitely not enough. You're going to have to use multiple dictionaries. I definitely recommend physical dictionaries, just because, like old physical dictionaries and new ones, and also the ones that you can find on the internet, just so you have like a better, well-rounded idea of where words come from. So, much of the English language has Latin and Greek origins, and many words we use in our vocabulary are simply compounds formed from three types of elements, also known as roots or stems, which is very, metaphorical too. And these three elements are bases, prefixes, and suffixes. These are what we use to configure many different forms of words. So some of the words we break down today are very, very controversial. And I highly recommend listening to the definitions in correspondence to the breakdown of the words, so there's a clear picture of why the words actually mean what truly needs to be understood. Okay? It's what breaking down these words is what needs to be understood. It's not about like, I know everything and this is exactly what this word means just because, someone else said it. It's about understanding why these, like how words are broke down into compounds, but then understanding that what is the word actually, what does it represent, and what's actually taking place in our life from that word that makes the word mean what it means. So on podcast 11, we covered some really important information about the religious dogma of scientism, social Darwinism, which is, the law of the jungle, and solipsism. But what is it that truly makes something, religious or a religion? What's a requirement for religion to work? It's belief or faith, right? So, do you think the overarching meaning of religion has anything to do with or solely to do with reading?
You can't carry anymore.
Well, if you don't know, that's what it's defined as etymologically. So obviously, there's nothing wrong with rereading anything. I want to make that very clear. There's nothing wrong with rereading anything. So, but there is absolutely something wrong with religion itself, especially institutionalized, organized religion, which I'd hope most people would agree with by now. So, that's what has to be understood is like, do you really think rereading as the etymology of religion or what I'm going to get into is where the word comes from, which is religare. Do you really think that it means to reread? That doesn't make that wouldn't make any sense. Like, oh yeah, my religion is, I have I'm part of a Christian reread. It's like, no, that wouldn't make any sense. So, and I think most people would agree with that. But when breaking down the word religion, it comes from the Latin word religare, meaning to tie back, to hold back, to bind fast, to thwart forward progress. And religare is broken down into two compounds. The prefix re means back, and then the connective vowel lig, L-I-G, meaning to bind, and that's part of the word ligare, okay, which means tie. So it's about binding or tying back. Essentially, it means when it comes to false religion, it's about what keeps the self held back from raising in consciousness. That's what faith and belief do in false religion. It's about keeping the self comfortable and never progressing any further. And, that causes stagnation in our evolution because it's about, unchallenged beliefs based in dogma. Also, it's important to understand there is one true binding to or tying back to, and that is truth itself. So, the one true religion is truth, and that's the positive aspect of the word religion. So basically, we have to stop making religion the truth and start making truth our religion. Did you want to add anything, Brandon?
It's just very well, what you said is very well stated. You know, there's a lot to religion. I feel like we shouldn't throw the baby out with the bathwater, first of all, right? But we also cannot fall into the binding aspects and the negative connotations to it. So there's a positive connotation, which is binding back to truth, which is what you're talking about. And I feel that is where everybody kind of misses the entire point of that. But what we are facing is false religious dogma, in our world. That's what we're facing currently, is the dogmas that have been brought down to us that have become institutionalized religious belief systems that thwart us from forward momentum and forward progress. So, yeah, I mean, it doesn't make any sense why the etymology would be reread. Let's, reread this over and over and over. I mean, I could see it as a form of mind control or a form of obfuscation of the word itself.
Right.
Something that I thought about a while back, and I'm not sure if it's etymologically connected or not, but I know the Latin word leg or leg means law also. So I thought that was kind of interesting. So back to law could also be a connection to religion, like us getting back to natural law, if we look at it positively, right? But, I just think that's kind of interesting that we do have that, because leg comes from lex in Latin, and lex means law. So I just find it really important to hammer on the fact that, we are fighting religion. We're fighting false religions, but don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. There's a lot of knowledge there that we do need to understand that really helps us understand our origins and things like that. But we need to really filter through it, and we need to stop literizing a lot of the text to that degree and understand most of them are allegorical rather than historical, and really try to get to the moral principles and the moral points of what religions is supposed to be trying to teach us, but they're not teaching us, So religions are absolutely a form of mind control, that's what they are, and that's what they have been, since the beginning of them.
And people have a really tough time understanding the difference between religion and religions, plural. So it's about, religions as we know them are the, organized institutions formed by and tied together by belief in their teachings and views. And that's, this isn't a bashing on the actual teachings, okay? But it's religion itself is anything that, may hold us back from forward progress in consciousness. And, some examples would be like, the belief in authority, or the belief in politicians, or the monetary system, or some kind of savior or something. Those are all forms of religion.
Right.
So it's belief.
That's right. Even the ideas of scientism is a religion. Even left brain ideas, only science can give us the answers. Darwinism, it's a religion. Social Darwinism is a religion. These political ideologies have become religions to people. Marxism, fascism, these are all religions now.
Well, we got about 15 minutes left. I want to get into the word government as well. This is we could go on and on about religion, and we're going to definitely extrapolate on that topic as we go on in the show. But let's talk about government for a second, or for a few minutes. The word government, let's talk about government and the word. It's also a very controversial word, which I believe was deliberately constructed to confuse us. And that's what government actually does. And especially when it comes to how the word is actually broken down. If we look deeply into, the Latin roots, we'll find what's important to understand about that word. It's divided down or broken down into two compounds, which are, the first part is govern, which comes from the Latin verb gubernare, which means simply to control. And gubernare is the infinitive form of the verb. The first person present tense is guberno, which means govern. There wasn't a V in classical Latin, but it's important to understand that the letters B and V phonetically sound the same. Because when you say the letter B, I have a lot of friends who speak Spanish, which comes from Latin, and that's when they say the letter V, I'm thinking they're saying B. So it's important to understand where the letters come from, or like when they evolved into the letters that they are. So, like I said, V, the letter V, wasn't in classical Latin. So like I said, it's about understanding the phonetic sound of B and V. And govern literally means to externally control, which is obviously in the effects of what government actually does. So the government controls what? It controls the citizens. So now think of how that is. Think of how it controls its citizens and how it gets its citizens to, do what it wants. How it accomplishes that. How government controls us. The slave named citizen. So it's funny because people who argue this will go straight to the online dictionaries and find definitions and try to prove the whole word government isn't broken down into two parts and comes from the old French meaning control, direction, or administration, and that's it. And they're not really wrong though, because it's just there's a bit more to it than that, because for one, you can't just leave out the noun, the noun forming suffix, which is meant. It's MENT. What many people believe meant translates to is act of, result of, or quality of. And again, there's more to it. What really needs to be understood is the suffix ment is the Latin noun mentis, or mens, meaning a condition of or a state of, which also translates to mind. So any word that ends in ment makes that word mean condition of or state of. So that, for example, argument or statement or containment or excitement. So it's basically, the argument of the mind or the state of mind or containing the mind or, to excite the mind. The mind is excited, for excitement. But first we have to understand the first Hermetic principle, which is mentalism. And we got into that on podcast 13. So I definitely recommend to go back and listen to that, or, read the Kybalion and you'll find it there. So basically the all is mind. The universe is mental. So everything in creation that exists in the universe must, by law, it would have first had to have existed in the mind. Mind is the root of manifestation. So everything must flow from mind. The universe flows from the mind through creation itself. Everything that exists flows and generates from a mental condition first. So anything that has, been manifested had to first start in the mind. That means control started from the mind, and so that means that it was perpetuated through the control of mind.
Yeah, I mean, that's absolutely true. And I think people really have a recalcitrant mindset towards understanding the definitions of words when it comes down to breaking them down. Even when you do bring in the definitive definitions, people still have a hard time because they don't want to admit that they were wrong and that they support mind control. That if you are under government, then you are a supporter of mind control. So you're a supporter of mind control. So you are a support of that that roof that you're creating, not the foundation, but you are a support of that actual entity.
Right.
So mind control itself is what we're facing off against, and government is a manifestation of our own internal illness. Our diseased mind, because it's the idea, the belief in authority, that men have the right to govern over other people in this world. And so it's a direct effect or condition of an emergent property of what's going on within our mind. And people need to understand that that condition of that state of can be changed, that we don't have to live that way, that we can change that. We don't have to have governments. We can live in a stateless society. The whole idea that government is necessary is the belief that evil is necessary, and it enshrines the entire idea that violence is acceptable as a virtue to rule a populace.
You could also say that the word government is the state of mind that leads to control, or controlling the mind that leads to or manifest as a result of controlling the mind.
Right. And I mean, what is mind control? Is it not a form of slavery?
Right. Yeah, it's completely a form of slavery. And that's what we're seeing here, peripheralated. Did I say that right?
I think so, yeah.
It's everywhere. Government is all over this world. Permeated. I don't know, but yeah, government is is everywhere, and because that means mind control is everywhere. It's people not having control of their mind. I wanted to say that, even, and I'm not saying like you don't have any control over your mind. I'm just saying that, we are all indoctrinated from a very young age. And most of what we know, if we've never done any true research on our own, is there to get us to go in a certain direction, think a certain way, believe in a certain way, and basically believe that government is the only solution.
Our Lord and Savior.
Right, exactly. I wanted to say, like, even in the Romanian dictionary, gubernare means sway. And from Greek, it's kybernon, which means to pilot a ship. So government obviously isn't literally a pilot of a ship, right? So what does a pilot of a ship do, though? It steers the ship, controls the direction of where the ship goes, right? And what about the ship? You could look at that as the body being swayed or steered, like the body of the people. So it's metaphorically, the ship is the body of the people, and the pilot is the controllers or steerers of those people, or of us people. And how do you sway or steer a whole people? Well, either through mind control or physical violation, or both. And that's exactly what government does. We can see this completely and logically if we were paying honest and close attention, being honest with ourselves, and not, believing that government is here to protect us,
Absolutely.
So
I like that metaphor too.
Yeah. Here's the other thing. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. The think about the word. This is what blows my mind. Okay, so think about like the first principle of mentalism, or the first Hermetic principle, which is mentalism. What did I say? Mental. Okay, mental. All right, it's mind. Mental is mind. That's what it translates to. Mental means mind. Okay, so you think of the word governmental. It literally translates to control mind, or mind control. And it's like, it's like what you think that meant doesn't have like any meaning to it when you think of the word government. That's crazy to me, to think like, okay, well, where does the word governmental comes from? It comes from government. Government is a shorter form of governmental.
Absolutely. And I mean, even if you didn't have mint on that, do you still think it's legitimate to control the direction of other people?
Exactly.
Somehow that makes the idea of control justified because it's not the mind. Though that's how it's done. Like, get over yourself and get over this bullshit.
Right.
And start to wake up, because guess what? You don't have a right to control the way my life goes. That's the whole idea, is that it's a monopoly over an individual's ability to discern the way they want their life to go, especially when they're doing no harm.
Exactly. And if a lot of people will say that it's all just semantics, what we're saying here. And my answer to that is just, you're not paying attention. You're not doing the homework. I mean, go out and read. Like I have there are a few different books, but one of them is it's called English Words from Latin and Greek Elements. It's all about compounds, about suffixes and prefixes and bases of words and how they're formulated. You can look at it for yourself. I mean, just to understand the language part of it, okay? Just to understand the technical side of the word, let alone, what the word actually manifests and expresses in our life. I mean, when you understand how mind control works, then you definitely see that government couldn't be anything other than that, And I know it's hard for, it's hard to understand for those who haven't studied classical Latin. And I'm not saying I have in depth, but I definitely study and look into etymology and compound derivations of many words, because it's really important to understand origins and, the evolution of language.
Yeah, well, it's also the origins of the ideas behind the language. The language is there as a means of communicating the ideas. So we're trying to get to the root of the causality, which lies in the mind, and we're trying to deal with the corrupted viral ideas that we have, and we're trying to get rid of those because those are what are causing us problems. So I like the John Locke quote. He says that the natural liberty of man is to be free from any superior power or superpower on earth, and not to be under the will or legislative authority of man, but only to have the law of nature for his rule. And that's what we're talking about here. The only thing that has rightful rulership in this world is truth and natural law. That's it.
Right.
No man has any rightful ownership or rulership over another sentient beings. They own their property, they own their own car, or they own their body, they own their tablet, whatever it might be, right? But you do not have the right to rule over me or any other being here. And that's innate, and we need to really get with that, because we're a species who enshrines the idea of slavery. I mean, we really do. We beg for it, which is really sad and absurd. But, what I think Voltaire said, those who can convince you of absurdities can make you commit atrocities.
Atrocities, like make you commit atrocities, for sure.
That's right. And it is an atrocity, to believe in this ideology. So you don't have the right to believe in slavery. Can you believe in it? Yeah, you can.
Yeah.
But do you have the right to believe in that? Like, is it an actual right? Well, since the action that creates slavery starts in the mind, then no, you don't. Yeah, you can think about it, but what I mean by belief is a solidified concept that you are going to behave off of. An axiomatic idea that you're going to behave from, right? Since I believe this way, I'm going to behave off of the way I believe. You don't have the right to behave that way, so you don't have the right to believe that way either.
Right. And it's like authority is basically an illusion based in a diseased psyche, and that's based in the dogma that, some people are masters who have the right to command others, that those others are slaves who have the moral obligation to obey their master. And it's really disturbing that people believe in that illusion.
Absolutely, man. It's deplorable, but that's what we're doing, That's why we're here, to make great change through positive thinking and through applying that positive thinking into positive action.
Right. I wanted to say one more thing about the word government, because, it's obfuscated. It's, like, for instance, you would think that the ruling class wouldn't want a term like government to be propagated negatively. But the truth is, we have to understand that the ruling class plays everything, including language, very close to the chest. And, they've proven that many, many times, and they will, they continue to do so. And they'll confuse words to cause division and, confusion to maintain a power differential. It's all about it's all about control and mind control, essentially. So,
absolutely.
Is there anything else you wanted to add before we get off here?
Nope. I'm good on that. We can continue with this discussion on the next episode.
Awesome. Well, we just went over the hour a little bit, and that's okay. But that's all the time we have today, guys. So thanks for tuning in and giving this information your time and attention. You can find more of our work here at CubbyWhole.com. That's CubbyWhole.com. And there you'll find news updates, videos, and much more, including the Seed Conference that will be coming up next year in 2021 in May. So definitely stay tuned for that. We hope you have found value here today, and please tune in to the next show where we go further into natural law and expand on the topics we just touched on today. So that might be just me, or it might be just Brandon. I'm not sure yet. So it's really important to watch these natural law shows in order and not miss any shows, so that way you get the full picture and have a better understanding. So that being said, thank you for being on today, Brandon, and thank you all for listening. Have a great day.
All right, I got super butthurt because I died, and you guys might have heard Squirt Dog whining in the background because somebody locked poor Squirt Dog in a laundry room, because this house is filled with smart individuals, very incredibly smart individuals. Hollows over balls, 24/7, never forget. Shout out to 2AJKL. And shout out to CubbyWhole Podcast. Thank you if you made it this far. We're going to go record a dubby unboxing / trying, testing, test tasting video. Hollows over balls. Thanks again if you made it this far. Stay tuned and stay golden.